Well, hello, friends. Welcome to the COGO Podcast. My name is R.W. Moody. I'm the Associate State Pastor here with COGO Ministries, and you are listening to the COGO Podcast. And so don't forget, the purpose of this podcast is to move leaders in the state of Ohio to be challenged through bite-sized conversations about ministry, leadership, and growth. And so we hope that in these few moments together today that you'll be challenged right where you're at, and that you will be moving in obedience to what God lays on your heart as you listen to this podcast today. And so we are so glad that you're watching, listening today, because we have a special guest here with us today, Rebecca Palmatier. Say hello, Rebecca.
Hello. Hello, Ohio.
Yeah, how are things in West Virginia today?
They're gorgeous and peaceful. Yeah, it's wonderful over here.
Awesome. We're so glad that you are here on the COGO Podcast today. I know you said before we hit record that you were glad to be able to speak. You know, we let outsiders in for sure.
Well, and I was from Ohio. I was in Ohio for 19 years. I love Ohio. Yeah. But I'm proud to call West Virginia home now. So thank you.
Yeah. Well, we're so glad to have you on the podcast. Just for those who may be listening or watching today who don't know you, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you live, and how you came to know Jesus.
Oh, yes. Okay. I am Rebecca Palmatier. I'm a pastor with the Church of God. I was ordained in Ohio, and then a couple years ago became a church planter in rural West Virginia for Church of God Ministries. And let's see, I am in my 40s. Sure. I've been married to my husband for almost 25 years, and we have 2 kids. And how I came to know Jesus, I was a teenager, and my dad had come to Christ through Promise Keepers in the 90s, early 90s. And one by one, our family members came to Jesus through him. And that was me. Yeah. I was a teenager.
Yeah. It's exciting how God makes a difference in one person's life and then kind of the domino effect.
Absolutely. Yeah. My dad, I think because it was so sincere and I saw this humility in him, our family was kind of breaking up at the moment. Okay. And to just see God working in his heart, I didn't even know or understand really about Jesus. I really didn't, but I went to church because that was Dad's thing and he invited me to go. And before I even fully understood the call, I just knew that I had been missing something. Yeah. And I said yes to Jesus.
Fantastic. Well, Rebecca, you alluded to the fact that you planted a church in West Virginia.
Yes.
Let's talk about that for a minute. What's it been like to insert yourself and your family into a community for the express purpose of building relationships for Jesus?
Yeah, it has been the coolest thing that we've ever experienced, but kind of out of the realm of even what I thought would be possible or what it would be like, because it's just so new. But what has it been like for us? It has been exciting. We fell in love with this community, and I guess the first part of our journey was just getting to know this place that God had brought us. There's so much that we didn't know. I've never planted a church before. I felt like I don't know what I'm doing. Or like I'm so out of my element. I've never done rural ministry, but I was confident that it was where God had brought us, and so that he would see us through. Yeah. And it's just been kind of every day is a new exciting adventure to see, all right, Lord, what are we doing? But as far as relationship building, that's really been the key, I think, to all of this, has been getting to know our neighbors and just trying to live life with them.
Yeah. I think it's cool to watch your journey on Facebook, because what I've noticed is that it's not just Rebecca's journey. It's been Tucker's journey. It's been Gemma's journey, and I can't remember your other daughter's name.
Noelle. Yeah.
It's like this whole family journey that you guys are on together, learning to trust, learning to lean in, learning to be available. It's so cool to see that happen.
Well, I think I told you this story. We had been in town for a couple of months. And when we first moved in, we moved into the back of the church. The church had been closed. There was a massive flood here in town and it was closed. And we were building our house, actually
Yeah.
not even building yet. And so about a couple months in, my daughters, Noelle and Gemma, but Noelle's like the talker. She came up to us and very serious look on her face said, "What happened? Why are we living in this abandoned church? Like, are we poor now?" Right? Like, it was just this totally different frame of, like, they didn't have anything to equate it to. And so to just be able to smile really big and just say, no, we get to be a part of rebuilding this community and rebuilding this church, and it's gonna be an adventure. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So how has planting or rebuilding that church, how has that helped you to understand the meaning of discipleship?
Oh wow. Uh, well, I think it has caused me to be laser focused. Really, really, discipleship is what it is. I think sometimes we can make church about other things, or we can add so many other variables into it, when at the end of the day, what makes us successful as his church is being disciple makers
Yeah.
and leading people to say yes to Jesus. So that's when everything else was stripped away, when I'm not measuring by, I'm not trying to build a brand. I'm not trying to, start the next thing. I am just trying to lead people to Jesus and help them to be sincere and earnest and willing to say yes to whatever he leads them to do. To me, that makes it takes the load off, actually, and it makes it a lot more simple.
Yeah. I love what you just said, the idea of having everything stripped away in order to just focus. Like
Right.
it makes you wonder what it would look like if every follower of Jesus was just this much intentional with that, just even the small amount, how much of a greater impact that would be.
Right. Yeah. I mean, even in my own walk with Jesus, right? I feel like it took me so long to even get to that point, to understand that all of these other things that I might have come to know about what church is or what we do, like a lot of that stuff, it's not good or bad, but it's not necessarily discipleship. And so we have to keep that first.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Rebecca, like in this small little journey that you guys have been on so far,
Yeah.
what are some of those tips that you would encourage people to consider when it comes to being intentional with people for kingdom purposes?
Yeah. So there are a few, actually. Some of them, I would say, not deeply spiritual, but I would say gathering people around food is a really great thing to do. Jesus did a lot of ministry around food. We actually started, before we even opened our church doors, we started something called Dinner Church at the park. And it was a shared family style meal. At first, we're just getting to know people. And then that became the place where we started discipling. So food, I am a firm believer. People come for food and they meet Jesus through food, and it's great.
Gotta eat, right?
Right. Everyone's got to eat. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's also like culture sharing, if you think about it. One of the key aspects of culture is food. Beyond that, tips, I would say, be adaptable, be really available and sensitive and ready to respond.
Yeah.
I feel like if you give yourself long enough time, you can talk yourself out of anything, right? And so learning to respond quickly when God puts something on your heart, and to be available and sensitive. And if I ever find that I'm, getting too busy in my day where I'm not asking God the question, like, Lord, what are you doing? And what can I be a part of? Right. Then that's a sign that I'm probably focused too much on the other stuff. Being adaptable, being very sensitive and aware.
That's good. That's good. I like the idea of the food. I mean, why not, right? I mean, you got to eat.
It,
Um,
yeah,
but it's
it's really a
fun,
great
right?
tool. Yeah. Yeah.
I've heard Melissa say once in a while that you should, as a neighbor, like sit down your driveway with like tea or whatever or like a snack and just wait, see how many how many of your neighbors come to just kind of again be intentional with some building relationships.
Right. Like even when we started here, the beautiful thing is I didn't have a church that I had to immediately start to operate. Right.
I
So I would, I got to know all of the business leaders on Main Street, and I'd visit all the cafe and this coffee shop. And I would just make my morning, my office was out there and I was just getting to know people. And I think that helps too. I think we're successful in building relationships because people have learned that we actually care, that we're sincere.
yeah
And that goes a long way.
yeah absolutely, absolutely. So I got the privilege of being with you last summer at the NEO family camp up in the Berlin Center area.
I'll be
Um,
back there this summer.
I know you will. I know. I had to be honest. I'm a little jealous that I can't hang out with you all week up there. So I'll have to see you at least one day.
Okay, good. For
But
sure.
I was super impressed with like your worship ability. So let's just pivot for a minute.
Okay.
Um, how would you define the word worship? How has worship become a daily interaction for you? And let me tell you, one of the most favorite parts of my work when we with you was when you were leading like the Carmen song. Like,
Oh,
yeah, I'm like,
come into this house. Yeah.
yes. I'm like, what in the world? Talk about flash from the past, number one.
Right, right.
But like
Yeah.
you brought it into like 2025 and it was a really cool way. So anyway, yeah. So tell us a little bit about your idea of worship and
Yeah. I would say so. I started in ministry doing worship leading, right?
yeah.
Um, I would say my definition of worship now is very less attached to music. I mean, like it really, it's very less attached to music. Music for me as a worship leader is a way to help my people express their worship to God.
Yes.
But to me, worship is like our heart, our intention, our focus is to give God honor and glory. And we do that through our words, through praise, but all the more just through our heart and our submission and surrender to Him every step of every day. So worship, it's really fun. I think as a worship leader, when you're coming into a space, I don't care about trendy songs. I don't care. I worked in Christian radio for a while. So like, I understand like charts and, songs that are more popular based on plays, whatever. I don't care about a lot of that. What I care about is, can the people sing it from an authentic place?
Yeah.
And is it something where they can get beyond a song where they're actually expressing their worship? And to me, Carmen was fun because just that example, it was a way to kind of like everyone's a little in a different comfort zone or space. It bridged different people of different backgrounds all together, and it reminded us what it's really about. Yeah.
Well, what I enjoyed about it was that you made worship and use this word fun, like
Oh, good. Yeah.
energetic. It was you can't sing that song with just like la 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 la. You just can't. I mean, it's yeah. So yeah, appreciate that about you.
Thank
So
you very much.
yeah, so how has worship been an aspect of your efforts to make disciples?
Mm. Yes. Well, again, to me, when worship is not the definition of being a performer, right? Like that's really separate.
Yeah,
I know a lot of really great musicians who they can bring it.
yeah,
But if they don't have the heart for worship that gets them out of the picture, then that's not it. So I'm really just in that same thread of disciple making, teaching people to be Jesus followers. That act or expression of worship is something that, I try to model.
Yeah.
Again, not worship as far as like music, but just that heart of availability and surrender, and because I'm human too, right? We're all human and we have to figure this out. And so I just try to model really authentically my walk. And I think that helps with disciple making and helping people feel able to authentically worship in whatever way that looks for them.
Yeah. Well, you do a great job, Rebecca, of getting people into that authenticity. As I recall watching people, it was very much this is my expression to you, God. I just want you to know it. And so it's cool to watch that play out, which honestly is why it's so important, right? I mean, worship is important so that we can just come before God, whether we're, hurting or whether we're celebrating or whether we're asking questions, just to come before God, just be that authentic, real, expression of what's going on in here.
Yeah. There was a book that I read. I wish I could remember the title. It was at least 15 years ago, but I'll never forget it. It said, the worship that you and I give to God right now, when we're living in this experience, right? We have baggage, we have questions, we have scars and wounds, and we have a choice, right? To bring worship to God. And sometimes it's heavy and sometimes it is with great effort. But they said there's something precious about that worship that we bring to God with all that in mind, because when we're in heaven, we're going to worship completely unhindered, right? So this is precious. And I've always felt that, all right, Lord, I don't have to hide anything about my experience with you. I don't have to pretend. I don't have to try to be anything that I'm not. But I just feel like it's precious to you because you know where I'm coming from.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah.
Well, Rebecca, what word of challenge would you give to leaders here in Ohio when it comes to the practice of discipleship? If you were to, look back over your experiences as a disciple, as a discipler, what would be a word of challenge that you would give us to just kind of wrestle with?
I would probably say something along the line of laser focus and clarity. I think right now, at least in the ministry that I'm having to do with my people, there are some people that are like post-church and they're having to wrestle with what they thought they knew about Jesus from their experience and their experience with the church versus who he really is. And I think for us as a church, if we could strip away as much as possible all of these other things so that we can really help people center on Jesus and not misconstrue God's nature because of this other stuff that we put in it. I think that would do a world of power and message to people right now.
I often say it this way. I think you have to unlearn in order to learn.
Yes.
So I think, you know what I'm saying? I mean, you chip away, get it off the plate so that you can have a brand new opportunity to load it with what's the reality of it.
Right. And I think that's why, and this word is a hot word, this idea of deconstruction, right? Because of course they'll be they throw in other words like progressivism or whatever, no. But in some ways the church experience, you probably threw a lot of stuff in that basket that you just assumed was God and Jesus and part of the thing. And it's been beautiful for me to have all of that stripped away and be able to just say yes to follow Jesus. And then everything else gets held to that lens and that standard and not all this other stuff. To me, that's been beautiful. So I know some people get really upset with that word deconstruct, but I can see it as a way where they're stripping, help people strip away the extra stuff, right? Because they need to see Jesus right now. And I think there's a distorted image sometimes of Jesus that can be projected by his church if we're not careful.
Yeah, that's a great word of challenge. Thank you, Rebecca.
You're welcome. Yeah,
well, friend,
thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, you're welcome. So glad that you could be a part of the COGO podcast. We really do appreciate it. Friends, as Rebecca just said, let me ask it this way. What is it in your life that needs to be stripped away so you can experience the true person of Jesus in this moment? I think as leaders, sometimes we have to ask ourselves that, friends. So
100%.
Yeah. So maybe it's the Holy Spirit. What is it you need to strip away from me so that I can experience you in a fresh way? What a challenge. Thank you so much, Rebecca.
Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. Friends, until next time we drop an episode of the COGO Podcast, please, let us know what these podcasts mean to you. Drop us an email, drop it in the comments, put it somewhere. We would love to know how this encourages you or challenges you. But yeah, so please reach out and let us know. So until next time, to the COGO Podcast, we'll see you soon.